guys, it's Emily from Novel Novels and welcome to today's video. This is my March wrap-up part 1. Now, I'm already doing quite well in March, but I am filming this wrap-up, the first wrap-up, a little bit early. So, bear with me, I've not read quite as much as I'd like, but I'm getting there. It's middle grade March, so the predominant books that I've read this month so far have been middle grade or YA. In fact, I've read a total of 8 middle grade or YA books so far. Ever get the idea I'm a bit interested in this? I've also read 1 fiction and 1 historical fiction, and currently, right now, I am listening to an audiobook, a non-fiction audiobook, which I'll tell you about in a minute. So, I'll tell you about the books I'm reading at the end. I want to get on and tell you how I've been doing. So I'll start off obviously with the lower ratings and then go down to the higher ratings. So, it's been, guys know, this is my month of recovery. So I am getting through a lot more books and doing a lot more. I had a very high goal of all my buddy reads. So I've got about, I think it's only 4 or 5 buddy reads going on this month. And I'm enjoying them. But the book that disappointed me the most, that got 2, I think it's like 2 or 2.5 stars, was this one, The Bookshelf of the Brokenhearted. I bought it in a charity bookshop because I thought it'd be more about books. It would be more, it looks beautiful. It's a beautiful cover. And at the back, the writing looks, if you can hold pause on this, it looks good. You think it's going to be not too heavy hitting. So it's when Hannah Babel arrives at hometown, no one is entirely sure what to make of her, least of all her lonely farmer, Tom Hope. In 1968, 24 years since Hannah and her little boy were sent to Auschwitz, Tom can't imagine the kind of heartbreak that Hannah has weathered, or how building Hannah's bookshelf will help them mend. This says at the back that it's for anyone that's had your heart broken or visited bookshops. But I'll be honest, it's not really about that. It's more about Hannah and the Auschwitz side. But we also have Tom's first wife, who leaves her it's safe to say, leaves her very early on in the book, and her son. There is a lot of triggers for child abuse. To me, it sounded like a cult. It could be a religion, but it sounded to me like a cult that they go to, and it's a lot about child abuse and. So that, and yes, you do have the Auschwitz bit, which is hard because obviously we all know that bad things happen there. But we also tackle mental health, but it don't feel like, to me, it tackled it in a very good way. It was very hard hitting. It was very uncomfortable. For me to say it's uncomfortable, and you guys know that I have mental health issues myself, but I found it too hard hitting. It was too depressing. I love Tom as a character. The leading man is brilliant. He's a kind guy. He's got so much love and so giving. We also have a lot of sexual graphic content in it that I found was a bit too much. Maybe it was the wrong time for me to read this at the moment, but I found it too hard-hitting and I didn't really enjoy it. So obviously that's going to a charity shop. The next one is Lady Oracle. This is still 3 stars, so it's still a good book. It's not a bad book. It's the third of the Margaret Atwood books that she wrote in chronological order. I'm reading it for Victoria's Readathon, What the Book Club Read, I think it's called. Check out Victoria's channel. I will link that below. So I've read that for her readathon. This is the second one, the third, basically, Margaret Atwood book I've read. This is way better than Surfacing. I really do. It's a 3/ I would even say 3.5. I'm getting close to upping it. This one's might go up a little bit. So basically, it's from fat girl to thin, from red hair to Mel Brown, from London to Toronto, from Polish count to radical husband, from writer of romances to a distinguished poet. Joan Foster is utterly confused about her life of multiple identities. She decides to escape to an Italian seaside resort to take stock of her life, but first she must plan her death. So we start off with her, she's basically faked a suicide, and that's what starts off the book. And then you go back to hearing her history. You go back to her childhood. For her childhood, again, it tackles childhood abuse, mentally, not so much physically, but more mental abuse. And that's very hard-hitting. It tackles bullying. It tackles, again, on the sexual side, I would say there's quite a lot of that stuff in here. It's quite raw. Joan has multiple identities. She tries to be who she thinks she should be. Now, part of that I can relate to, because I think there have been times certainly since I've had my children, where I've tried to be what I thought I should be. So I can identify that. I don't obviously go to the extremes of creating different names like she's doing, but we all try and be what we think we should be, not who we really are. So that is tackled quite well. The writing in this is a lot better than the surfacing. There is a lot more sense. What knocked it down again was the ending. I didn't feel like it tied stuff together perfectly. I'm not going to give spoilers, so I'm not going to explain why. There are some real abusive, strong characters in this, but there is some real love-a-loo characters. This also sort of goes into spiritualism, I believe. It sort of goes into that. It's a very interesting book, and I'm so glad I read this. I'm not going to keep it because I don't think it's one I'll reread, but it is still very good, and I'm still very glad I bought that. Now I go into a 3.5 star, which is this, The Last Battle by C.S. Lewis. I don't know what to say about this without giving triggers. It is so, triggers as in, I don't want to, spoilers, sorry, I don't really want to give it away. This is basically the last battle of Narnia. It starts off really, really in a really weird way. So we start off with this like ape guy, this talking ape who's very much of a bully, and he has this friend who's a donkey, yeah. And he finds a lion skin at the bottom of a pool sort of thing, and he decides that he would make his donkey friend turn him into a lion and pretend that he's Aslan. And then he gets this, then he starts all this bad stuff happening because he starts bossing people around and starts creating chaos basically. And the current king of Narnia, struggles because he doesn't think he's not Aslan. He really doesn't believe that Aslan would do this. And the king's unicorn friend called Jewel, who I absolutely love, is like saying, no, this is wrong. Something is going on. Something is wrong here. And at the start of the book, they basically end up calling on the previous kings and queens of Narnia for help. They call for help. Now, I will safely say that the first people to arrive are Eustace and his friend, I think her name's, it's not Lucy, I really can't remember her name. I really feel awful. Jill. And they are the people that left in the silver chair. They are the last people that were in Narnia. And they get called back. But at the very start, you see all of them. You see Peter, you see Edmund, you see Lucy. I get the idea I'm missing someone. And you see the professor, and you see the professor's friend, who's also in this. So you see the people that are very much the magician's nephew. So right from the start, they're all sat at a table. And they can't communicate to this king. But he's trying to say help. And it's interesting. There are some bits of this that are really good. There are some fight scenes that are really good. The ending is brilliant. Although it made me cry my eyes out. So be warned, you will cry. You will cry, definitely cry in this book. It's very much more emotional. It's a lot better. Again, this is 3.5, nearly 4, because the start of it really knocks it down. And there is some stuff in the middle that's really weird. And I'm like, what's going on? But it's a lot better. Certainly a lot better than The Horse and the Boy. Better than The Silver Chair. It's 3.5. I'm tempted up it to 4. I don't know. It's one that really does make sense, and the ending is what saved this book in this. To me, the start and the ending are very important, and what's middle kind of links it all together. To me, the middle's okay. The ending's fantastic. And I love seeing Lucy and Peter and Edmund and that again. I love that. That to me was amazing, bringing back the old characters. But yeah, it's all right. Definitely worth it. Definitely, if you're reading this series, you have to read this because it ends things brilliantly. Although be warned, like I said, get your tissues ready. Now that I go into my 4-star books, my 4-star books do not mean that they are not fantastic. It just means that I won't reread it, and I'll get to the point. But this one makes sense. It is middle grade. My gorgeous sister Charlie lent it to me. It is The Girl Who Stole an Elephant. It's a beautiful book. It's absolutely gorgeous. I flew through it so quickly. Thief, rebel, bandit, hero. Chana can talk her way out of anything except for stealing the Queen's jewels, if she had the best of reasons. This is such a good middle grade book. If you read it, be aware you're reading it at middle grade level, so the chapters are really short. You fly through it. Oh my goodness, the pictures, look at this. They are, oh my god, my sister's got a great taste in it. The chapter headings are absolutely beautiful, and it is such a gorgeous book. It basically teaches you about a lot. It can teach a middle grade person a lot. It teaches about fighting for what's right, for believing what's right, for standing up for yourself. Friends in unlikely places. Magical. It's brilliant. I loved it. I really enjoyed this book. And if you like adventures in the jungle, if you like the heroes, the good people, the bad people, if you like standing up for what you like, she's a really, that is one, I would say, protagonist, but cheap childhood protagonist. She's such a good person. So I love that book. It's really good. Now the next one is my first book that I've read in verse. This is One by Sarah Crossman. This is amazing. Again, I won't probably keep it because it's not one I will reread, but it's my first book that I've read in verse, and I'm so glad I read it. Chloe read it last month, so I was like, if Chloe's read it and she's liked it, I know I'm going to like it because Chloe has great taste. My sister Charlie picked it as my friend's choice of the month. This is Here we are, and we are living, isn't that amazing? How we managed to be all. So this is a story about two conjoined twins who have to go to school. They basically, they've been hidden from the world for so long, but money wise means they had to go to school, and it's them going into school, making friends, things in their life that they have to do, and it's very, very interesting. It is one that will absolutely break you though. You will end up in tears. I flew through this very, very quickly. It didn't take hardly any time. But when what they want to be is looked at in turn, but that truly they are two people and they want real friends. It's about, they obviously where they're conjoined, people treat them as one, but they're two very separate girls. And they want to be treated like that. They want different things, they're different people. But just because they're conjoined, it doesn't mean they're any less of a person. And I found that was really hard hitting. It's really good, very good book, and I'm really glad I read it. Definitely glad I found that. Charlie found it actually for me in the charity shop. Now the next one is 4.5 stars. It's borderline. Oh, I've dropped something, and I never like doing this. Sorry, I never do that. It's The Secret Garden. This is my one copy. I've got 2 copies of The Secret Garden. I've got this, and I've got another one. The reason why I picked this is because partly it's a shorter one, but it's still really good. It got 4.5 stars. It didn't make the 5-star mark because I compared it too much to the film. And the ending, it might be that my ending on this is different to the ending that is in another version of it. I hope not. It's brilliant. We all know The Secret Garden. It's one of my first films. It's one of my middle grade books that I also read because it was a read along that Kate Howe ran. So I wanted to read it because of that. It was what inspired me to put it in my middle grade March. But in this enchanting tale, lonely orphan Mary finds a key to an abandoned garden, which she determined to restore. As she and her invalid cousin tend to the garden with the help of their new friend Dickon, their lives change. This is bloody brilliant. It's one of the best classics, one of the best children's classics, one of my favourite books of all time. This will get kept. It's brilliant. The Secret Garden is amazing. There are so much of this book that is way better than the film. But to me, it was the ending that just knocked it that little 0.5 star. But it is so, so good. It's lovely. And there are characters in this that I didn't think I would like. Like Dr. Craven's, obviously, he's a good guy. But actually, the sort of leading lady of the house, oh my goodness, why can I not find her name? I feel really beat myself up. I always beat myself up when I'm reading this because I always forget there is someone. But by other stuff, the gardener's been talked about a lot more in this, and that's brilliant. He's talked about, Martha's spoken about again. There you go. In this book, Mrs. Medlock is not taken out, not as much of a bad person as she is in the film. In the film, she's a real bad guy, but in the book, she's not. You see the real depth to her that's missing in the film. I am desperate to see the new film when it comes out because I'm wondering if it's going to be as good as the first. But this is a really good book. I'm so glad I read it middle grade March. Now I'm going into my 5-star books. You're gonna guess they're all like middle grade or YA. You guys wouldn't know. You know, obvious, isn't it? The first one is this one that I only just finished yesterday. The Day We Met the Queen by Anangia Ralph. I read The Boy at the Back of the Class last month, and you guys saw the review on that. My little girl Mia decided to use her £1 book token to buy me a book for my birthday, and she bought me this. I flew through it in a matter of hours. This is literally about the day they met the Queen. You tackle bullying even in this. You tackle racism, and even in a book this size, you're still tackling so many interesting issues. But it's brilliant, and I loved it. I'm really glad I read that. The next one I read for Tom's readathon, rereading all the Harry Potter books. Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. This is actually my favourite Harry Potter film. I love the book. It's pretty much one of my second favourites. This is where we start going into the darker side of the Harry Potter books. The next ones, I believe, are going to be more YA. Because you start getting the darker side of it. But it's bloody good. You meet Sirius Black. Gotta love Sirius Black. You just, and you get to meet Professor Lupin, who I love. You get to meet brilliant characters who make the story as they are. And you see Harry standing up for himself. And I love this book. I don't need to talk about it. We all know about Harry Potter. We all know it's the best. It's not going to be my favourite book of the month because it is one of my favourite books of all time, so I don't need to. The next two are my joint favourites of the month so far. So I'm going to show you this one first, which is Charlie's copy of, I don't want to lose her, I don't know if she saved the pages. This is Pages and Co, Tilly and the Book Wanderers. This is the first book. Charlie's given me the second one, which will get read, even though it's not going to be on my April TBR, it will get read in April because, in fact, I might just add it anyway. But it's bloody brilliant. It is I have heard this book on Linda's channel, on Nikki when she was on BookTube. Check her out, Nikki. I read past my bedtime. She's on Instagram now. So many people. My sister Charlie's raved about this book. Everyone has raved about it. It is every bit as good as the rave. It does not need to be talked about. This is a book where Tilly Pages has lived above her grandparents' bookshop ever since her mother disappeared. One day, her favourite book characters come to life, and she can go into their worlds. It's about going into their worlds. The pictures in this, oh my god. So this really does count for middle grade March. I've just found the perfect picture to show you. You see characters in books in this book. You see magic. It's bloody good. It's going to go in my favourites for the month. I know it will. It's that good. It's fantastic. Please, guys, if you haven't read this and you like middle grade books, if you love books like you should do if you're on BookTube, pick this up. It's bloody amazing. Now, my joint favourite of the month, and it is that. No, apparently, according to my little list, that is my favourite book of the month so far. So, there you go. Get a picture of that in my pictures. But the other one, that very close second, is The Subtle Knife by Philip Pullman. It's the second in the Dark Material series. Buddy read it with Charlie, my sister Charlie, sorry. I've always have to say the two Charlies. Gaia from Gaia Athena and Bernard from Bernard. Oh, Bernard's, I can't remember Bernard's channel name, but it will be linked below. We buddy read that. That was the first buddy read of the month. It is fan-flipping-tastic. It is way better than the first one, Northern Lights. I would find it hard to get the next one to be anywhere near as good. This is literally, it's such a close second to my favourite of the month so far. It is blooming. It's amazing. You get to meet Will, who's a lovely character. He's just killed a man. He's on the run. You get to meet the two different worlds. So that obviously the world that Lyra was from, that's obviously in the first book, and then you get to meet the fact they can go into different worlds. So there's obviously Will's world is our world effectively, and they can go into different worlds. You get the merging of that. You get characters that have come back, characters that go. That horrible Mrs. Coulter, you see her quite a lot. You don't really see Lyra's dad in this, but you get to meet some other ones, some other new characters that are really good. Mrs. Coulter, I still hate her. She's like my scary one. She's the scariest lady in the world. But this is brilliant. It's scary in some ways. It's brilliant. Your heart melts. It is amazing. I can't rave enough about this book. And we are reading the third one in May, which I didn't think I'd read anything else in May because May is Mental Health Month and I'm going for that. Sneaky peek, guys. May I will be reading pretty much all new mental health books, apart from buddy reads, but got to carry on doing my buddy reads. You know what I'm like. Anyway, for the last little bit of the book, I want to show you this video. I want to show you the books that I'm reading now. So, first one, I'm reading 25 pages a day, roughly, chapter a day with my sister Charlie. Wild Swans, it's one of my only non-fiction books of the month. It is really, really good. At the moment, it's 4 stars. It is really good. It talks about, oh my goodness, it's China, and it really tackles some really things. You go through different generations, you meet different women, you meet their fights, their battles, you see the bad things that happened, you see the war that tore people apart. It even mentions the foot binding in it. It's such a good book, and I'm so glad I'm reading this with Charlie. In fact, when I get off this, when I've stopped recording, that'll be the first thing I read. I'm also buddy reading with the lovely Tom. Tom reads things. I'm reading. Perhaps you see my little bookmark here. The Tenant of Wildfell Hall by Anne Bronte. I didn't know how I would feel about Anne Bronte because I love Charlotte Bronte so much, and I love Emily Bronte so much. But this is every bit as good. She actually writes very differently. I think Charlotte and Emily write quite similar, but she writes quite differently. She's actually managed to make me laugh in a classic, which I didn't think was possible. Also made me cry. This is up there as one of the best books, one of the best classics. It's one of my favourite classics already, and I'm so glad I'm reading it with Tom. It really does. It tackles. So it's about it portrays the disintegration of marriage of Helen Huntington, the mysterious tenant of the title, her dissolute and alcoholic husband, and she meets someone called Gilbert Markham. Now you just start it off with Gilbert Markham. That's where you start off the book, and then I think we're hearing her story, Helen's story, in the next part of the book. But it's really good. It's one I will rave about till my dying day. It is that good. It's such a good book, and I love it. Now I know why I'm glad I'm reading all the Bronte books this year. I can't believe that Anne is up there with Charlotte and Emily as top classic writers ever. She's amazing. Now the next one's one I've only just started yesterday, but do you know what? I started it yesterday. Can you see how many pages I'm already through on this? I'm going to fly through this book. Queenie is all over BookTube. Lauren's read it. Amy's read it from Amy P.S. I Love Books. She's raved about it. So many people have raved about this book, and it is friggin' amazing. It's a contemporary book. Queenie is a black lady who is going through so much. This is already tackling so many issues. Sometimes I feel frantic and everything in my life is spun out of control. This is just, it tackles like expressive, aggressive, funny drama. She's so many descriptions of her, and she's tackling so many things, and I'm already loving this book. This will get finished this weekend. It is that good. So before this video is going up, I believe on the Monday you'll see this, but this would have been finished by the time this goes up. So look at my review on Goodreads or on Instagram, because expect it to be freaking amazing. Anyway, guys, this video is way longer than I expected, but I'm having a great month. I wanted to read books that I wanted to read this month, and do you know what? I'm blooming loving it. I've got some amazing books to read in the second half of the month that I can't wait. I've got a buddy read coming up with Clint and my gorgeous friend Simone. I've got my first buddy read with Chloe coming up. I've got so many exciting things to finish this month on, and I am so glad I'm doing Middle Grade March to break it up. This is brilliant. Oh, I forgot to say, I'm also reading the third Anne of Green Gables book, Anne of the Island, which I started last night and is absolutely incredible as well. And like I said, by the way, I forgot to say, yes, I am reading The Other Bennet Sisters on audiobook. It's brilliant. I have not read Pride and Prejudice yet, but that will get read in June before Jane Austen in July, because this is really tackling the other Bennet sister, the one Mary who doesn't get talked about, and it's her story, and I'm loving it. I'm loving reading it on audiobook. So guys, I may not be watching as many videos because I'm that much listening to that I don't want to. I just want to literally listen to this book while I'm doing stuff. But I'm having a fun month. I hope you guys are too. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel and not subscribed yet, ring on my ding-a-ling, and I'll see you all soon. Bye.